Tehran is trying to maintain the possibility of engaging in diplomatic relations with world leaders. Mykhailo Yakubovych, an orientalist, PhD in history and researcher at the Oriental Studies Department of Freiburg University, shared his opinions with Espreso TV. He noted that the agreements between Russia and North Korea differ from those between Russia and Iran. Pyongyang and Tehran are completely different realities. Tehran still tries to preserve the possibility of handshakes with world leaders. Tehran seeks to reduce sanctions. Tehran tries to pretend to be reasonable and a player capable of negotiations. And by the way, in many ways, this is true, considering their historical relations with, for example, the United States and European countries. With Pyongyang, it's a different story. Secondly, the territorial aspects or mutual military obligations in the agreement are not well defined. There are conditions noted by analysts suggesting that Iran does not support Russia's annexation of certain Ukrainian territories. This is partly true, as Iran in the UN, we know, either votes against any condemnation of Russia or abstains, but on the other hand, it says it supports the end of the war under the condition of territorial integrity. Clearly, this is the hypocrisy of the Iranian regime, but the question is who benefits from this agreement, the Iranians or the Russians, he said. Mykhailo Yakubovych also noted that Iran is preparing for negotiations with Trump, and its cooperation with Moscow will serve as an argument in these talks. And here, it's easy to weigh these two sides. For the Russians, it's an additional means of pressure on the West, showing that they have cooperation with Tehran and that this cooperation could even involve a nuclear component, although that's unlikely in the near future and China will obviously not support it. For the Iranians, it's an opportunity to gain more access to space technologies, modernize their gas transportation systems, and continue developing various technologies related to nuclear energy. In essence, Iran is preparing for negotiations with Trump. Trump, despite making loud statements against Iran, saying that Iran will be the #1 enemy and that there will be strong pressure, has his advisors interpret it quite differently. The pressure will continue, but judging by everything for Iran, this cooperation with Russia will be one of the arguments, saying, if you don't lift sanctions from us. In his opinion, Iran may backtrack on its cooperation with Russia if sanctions are lifted. Iran will not be as dependent on Russia as Bashar al-Assad was or as Pyongyang has become. Though maybe Pyongyang is still controlled by China. So, this will be a situational ally, considering their historically problematic relations, but it will be a deal they can use to pressure Trump, saying, we can backtrack, and the agreement allows for that if sanctions are lifted and if they continue to communicate with us. How the United States will respond in the case is uncertain, but Iranian analysts, even those close to the regime, are generally inclined toward negotiations. Moreover, Iran's proxies, like the Houthis, Hezbollah and Hamas, are not in the best position to continue attacks against Israel. Therefore, it's beneficial for them to have an additional argument, but whether it will work is a big question, said Mykhailo Yakubovych.
Firefighters in the Ukrainian city of Pokrovsk battled blazes after 3 multi-story buildings and 3 houses were damaged in Russian strikes on Monday night. According to Associated Press, a huge blaze engulfed apartments across 6 floors of a 9-story building, covering 1,000 square meters, according to local authorities. Emergency service workers had to halt the operation at one point due to the risk of further attacks, officials said. Ukraine's Air Force said Russia fired 131 Shahid strike drones and numerous decoy drones overnight Monday, of which 72 were shot down and 59 likely jammed. There were no immediate reports of casualties. Donald and Melania Trump arrived at the White House Monday morning for a pre-inaugural tea, restoring the traditions around a peaceful transfer of power. President Joe Biden and First Lady Jill Biden greeted the Trumps at the White House North Portico, greetings and posing for photos ahead of a private meeting over tea and coffee. "Welcome home," Biden said to Trump after the president-elect stepped out of the car. According to Associated Press, Biden wrapped his hand around Trump's upper arm to escort him inside the mansion. Trump, who overcame impeachments, criminal indictments and a pair of assassination attempts to win another term in the WH, will be sworn in Monday as the 47th U.S. president, taking charge as Republicans claim unified control of Washington and set out to reshape the country's institutions. Trump's swearing-in ceremony, moved indoors due to intense cold, will begin at noon Eastern Time. But festivities will start earlier when the incoming president arrives for service at St. John's Episcopal Church.